the Ghost of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 121 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today we'll be discussing chapter 47 of A Clash of Kings, that's Arya 9.
And you know the plan by now. We're going to chat about the chapter. We're going to try not to spoil any future plot points for you. And hopefully we'll provide you some entertainment along our way.
They know the plan if this is not the first episode they're listening to.
Right. If they're episode 121 and they're like, wait, what do they do in this show again?
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the television show, indulge in a little pedantry, and cover some relevant news and listener correspondence. Be sure to check out the show notes. They'll provide some additional information about the characters and other things in this chapter. Very handy if you're not reading along.
It sure is.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's the holiday season, so, even though it's the most wonderful time of the year, it's also often the most stressful time of the year, so...
You see, you're the one who brings this on yourself. I just like it. Because I'm all relaxed. I'm not too worried.
Well, I got all the lights up. I got the lights up the weekend after Thanksgiving, so it's been
See, I haven't done
buying.
that yet.
It's been the gift buying that's been providing the stress primarily. Molly wanted a Nintendo Switch, and they're not easy to find these days. So I've been all over Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, and you know how unreliable people are on there. I've had about 6 deals fall through, so I managed to eventually get one at GameStop. So,
because they're flush with money because of their stock price.
That's right. Yeah, they should have. That should have been cheaper. They got all kinds of money.
That's how they got that stock price up. No, it's not.
No, not so much. How about you? How you doing?
I'm good. Carsten and I have been thinking about an indulgent present for ourselves for Christmas of a hot tub.
Oh,
we've been thinking about it.
La-di-da.
Well, I'm not sure it's going to happen. Before you get too excited. But she's read, because she is who she is, she has read 1,000,001 message boards. I'm just like the brown one. You know.
Yes. You summed the two of you up very well there.
Exactly. So she's discovered that the hot tip is you ask for a wet test. And I was like, what is that?
What?
She said, you go to the showroom and you get in one of the hot tubs in your swimming costume.
Oh.
Can you imagine anything more mortifying than this?
Oh, that was my first thought as well.
So we've done it twice now. We've done it in 2 different stores in the Triangle area.
Did you go to that Atlantic spa?
Yes, that was the first one we went to, yeah.
Kind of near my house there.
That one was a little bit better because the 2 that they have that are filled are in private rooms.
Okay,
so
much better.
We had to wander through the store in our swimming gear, but with the jacuzzis themselves were private. Mackelly loves this. His head is rocking backwards.
Oh man, it's a shame. You know, we had a hot tub, and I just gave it away about a year or so ago. I gave it to friends of ours. You guys could have, although this is like a 15-year-old hot tub, so not anything like what you've been trying with these new hot tubs.
Yeah, but I'm guessing you weren't asking for the same amount of money that these people are asking for.
No, I literally gave it away.
Yeah, they are not.
The friend of mine who took it, the deal was, you figure out how to get it out of my backyard, you can have it. Anyway,
so I'll keep you posted if this happens. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, this is not exactly chit chat, which is what we normally do at this point in the podcast, but we are going to take a week off, right? Have we decided that?
We have, yes. I'm gasping because we've never done this before. Unprecedented. No. 121 straight weeks, it's...
Well, not quite, because we doubled up.
We did double up,
time,
yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, we've decided to take a holiday break. Just a week.
Nothing serious.
No, just a week.
We're not falling out or anything. We just, we need a break.
Right. Yes.
So we're going to skip the Christmas week. So the one that normally goes out the morning of the 27th of December is the one that won't happen.
Right.
And instead that one will go out January 3rd. So, hey, something to look forward to in the new year.
That's right. Yes, it's just, We just need a week's vacation.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get down to business. How did we leave Arya Stark?
Yeah, we need to get down to business. This is quite the episode here.
This is a long chapter.
Yeah.
Last we saw of Arya, she was watching Tywin Lannister and most of his force ride from Harrenhal to meet Robb in the Westerlands. She learned that Gendry lied about her true identity when Hot Pie was asking questions. He lied to protect her. I think that should be made. I should make that point. After some especially brutal treatment from Weese, she whispered his name to Jaqen H'ghar. Later, she realised she'd made a mistake and tried to recant the name, but it was too late. Weese was dead. Why don't we give them the summary of this behemoth?
All right. Arya is visiting Hot Pie in the middle of the night as he needs the bread for morning. Her new supervisor, Pink Eye, is nowhere near as cruel as Weese, and is always passed out drunk in the evenings, so she's free to explore the castle. She wants a tart, but Hot Pie says they're for Amory Lorch. She wants to spit on one, but Hot Pie notes that he'll be the one to get whipped if Lorch notices.
Not unreasonably, I feel.
No, I agree.
Arya hears the portcullis rise and goes to investigate, stealing a tart on the way. It's the brave companions with some spoils. A bear, equipment, pigs and chickens, and more than 100 northern prisoners.
Uh-oh.
The commotion brings out Amory Lorch, now Castellan of Harrenhal. Vargo Hoat, head of the Brave Companion, announces that he prevented Bolton from crossing the river, killed many, sent Bolton running, and captured this lot. If he's not exaggerating, it's a bitter blow for the North.
Sure is. Lorch wants the prisoners in the dungeons, but Robert Glover, most senior of the prisoners, demands the promised honorable treatment. Hoat screams in his face, and Lorch says that Hoat's promises don't matter to him. The prisoners are led away. Arya sees Pink Eye, which ought to spell trouble for her, but she's not worried. Arya continues her tour of the castle. She has the run of the place because there aren't enough soldiers to guard every route.
She visits Gendry, who's hammering a breastplate. She wants his help to free the prisoners. He laughs in her face. The village taught her nothing. They are not fighters. She explains how they could take the castle if they could just free the northern prisoners. She tries to entice Gendry with the prospect of going to Winterfell to be a smith. He's understandably not that impressed with the offer. He's content here. She reminds him of the threat that Cersei poses to him. He's still bemused by that.
Getting nothing from Gendry, she goes to the Godswood to practice her water dancing. She's fashioned a wooden sword that she hides there, and she keeps her muscle memory from her fighting lessons with solo practice among these sentinel trees. Thinking on her plight, she kneels before the heart tree and prays to the old gods. She wants to be a brave water dancer and to get the men out of the dungeon. But then she remembers how much her father prayed and where that got him, and lashes out at the gods.
She's overheard by Jaqen H'ghar. He admonishes her not to mock the gods and presses her for a third name. He adds that he knows she is Arya Stark. She asks for help freeing the northern prisoners, but he's not interested. She has only one name left and he wants it. She extracts a promise that no matter who she names, that person will die. Jaqen thinks she's going to say Joffrey, but instead she says Jaqen H'ghar.
Gotcha.
He hopes she's joking, but she presses. He pulls a knife. Arya's not sure who it's intended for, but he asks if he provides her the help she needs, she will unsay his name. She agrees. He quickly forms a plan which involves her running to the kitchens and demanding broth for the soldiers.
She does so, but the broth isn't ready, so she lends a hand and waits for word from Jaqen. He arrives with Rorge and Biter. They need the broth now. The cook is dismayed, but Rorge's psychotic threats are pretty convincing. They let the goat have thin broth. Between the four of them, they carry 4 large pots of broth to the dungeons. They're questioned, but the prisoners do need food, so they're let down. There are 8 guards spread out, but the smell of food gathers them around the table.
Rorge hurls the soup pan at the men. One is killed by the pan, and the others are covered in the boiling soup. In the chaos, the 3 former prisoners quickly dispatch the injured guards. Jaqen wipes his sword on Arya's clothes. She should be bloody too. They find the key and open the cell. The northern men come out, and the first few arm themselves with the weapons of the dead guards. All of them seemed less injured and tired than when they arrived. Lord Robert Glover commends his rescuers for the soup, but he asks if Hoat has sent them. Roach realises what's happened and laughs. They quickly agree that they are now part of the Brave Companions.
If you can't beat them, join them, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
When they resurface, they find that Glover's men are making quick work of Lorch's garrison. Arya is still puzzled, and Jaqen explains that Hoat has been bought. Jaqen presses her to unsay his name. She does, but asks for a third death. He says she's being greedy, and points to the bloodshed all around them. She reluctantly agrees that the debt is paid. Nevertheless, Jaqen says that it's time for him to die. He then somehow changes his face completely before her eyes. She is flabbergasted. She wants to learn the trick, and Jaqen says she can if she comes with him across the narrow sea. She refuses, but he provides her with a coin and a phrase that any citizen of Braavos would honor and would bring her to him. Valar Morghulis.
Arya sleeps, and when she wakes, it's to a new reality. Harrenhal has changed hands, and people seem to know of her part in the proceedings. Lorch's men died from hot weasel soup. Roose Bolton arrives later and is presented with Harrenhal by Vargo Hoat. Rorge and Biter are thanked for their part. Arya kind of thought that they might be Jaqen's familiars and be gone with him. Arya is also pushed forward as deserving thanks. She names herself Nymeria, or Nan for short. Bolton makes her his cup-bearer. The banners are switched out, and Lorch is fed to the bear.
Whew. Oh, boy.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit worried about Arya's sleep deprivation. I mean, she has to work... Pink Eye's not as brutal as Weese was.
Right.
But she does have to work all day, and now she's basically staying up all night.
To do stuff that she wants to do.
Right, yes.
That's true.
That's not healthy.
No, you're
child.
right, yes.
She needs a mother.
Yeah, it's a long chapter.
God, it's a long chapter.
19. Well, in my ebook, it was 19 pages, and in my audiobook, it was 50 minutes, which is not the longest. I still think the prologue to this book was the longest. I think it was 70 minutes in the audiobook. But, of course, I can understand why it was long. I mean, it wrapped up two storylines that had been going on for a while. It wrapped up the who is Jaqen H'ghar, and it wrapped up the was Amory Lorch going to get what he deserved storyline. So,
and I guess it moved Roose Bolton's storyline along a little bit as well. He's been in the wind for quite a while now.
Right. Yeah.
In fact, we basically haven't seen him since he left the twins.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. We've heard. Well, we saw him on the battlefield with Tyrion. Well, not him personally, but we saw him and his army on the battlefield with Tyrion and Tyland's army.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the last we'd heard from them.
Yeah. So one thing I'll say, I mean, I think we all agree that Arya slightly blew her first two wishes.
Yeah.
From Jaqen H'ghar. But Weese's death has been more of a boon to her than we might have anticipated. She's free from beatings, she's got the run of the castle, she's feeling pretty good about herself compared to how she's been in recent chapters.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely, you could definitely see the quality of life improvement here. And yeah, like you just said, Weese's death in the big picture was a waste. But you can't entirely discount the improved quality of her life here, especially since she has to live it day in and day out, you know? And she seems entirely unconcerned about Pink Eye's retaliation for her shirking her duties, which she...
Yeah, she mentions several times that he makes threats but never follows through with them, whereas Weese constantly followed through with his threats.
Right, so he's like your typical parent.
Right.
Yes, you're grounded for a week. 2 days later. Can I go outside? Yes, get the hell out of here, kid.
So there's a very interesting piece of self-awareness she has at one point. She's thinking about the fact that she's still got this third name at her disposal. And she wonders if it's the knowledge of having that third name that's making her feel so bold and powerful and self-confident. And it probably is. It's probably contributing, because if you basically snap your fingers and someone dies, then you can walk around with your head held pretty high,
Absolutely.
Knowing that if anybody crosses you, you can get them.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a pretty good bit of self-awareness for her to realize.
Yeah.
She thinks to herself, when did I start getting my confidence back? it was Jaqen. He turned me from a sheep and a mouse to a ghost. And so she's thinking to herself, I want to not waste this third wish. This third whisper of a name. It needs to be someone of importance. But at the same time, she's also thinking, is that the real reason that I'm not giving a name? Or is it because I know as long as I've got this third one, that I can not be afraid of anybody? So...
Yeah. And yeah, she actually says once she gives the third name, she'll go back to being a mouse again.
Right.
So, she does not want that to happen.
Yeah, she did last chapter start to feel a little bit more confident when she was holding that sword that was for, oh shoot, I forget his name. Sir Lionel or something? It was something like that. Whatever his name was. And then Weese smacked her, and she hated him for making her feel powerless again. And that's ultimately what led her to say his name to Jaqen. So
we'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes. Anyway.
Yeah, and she wonders how Jaqen got the dog to kill Weese, but I didn't realise that the dog had killed Weese. I thought he might have died in another way, and the dog was just sort of taking advantage of his deadness to start feasting on him.
I think that's possible. She came out and saw the dog chewing on Weese's neck. So,
Right.
In her mind, she's thinking the dog killed him and is now, feasting on his blood and guts. But yes, it's possible. She also wonders, why was he in the black cells in the first place? Is he a wizard that's done something terrible and Yoren knew about it and kept him in chains?
Which is also why we mentioned in the summary that she thought that Roge and Biter might disappear when Jaqen did.
Right.
When Jaqen left, she thought Roge and Biter might go with him because she thought they might be just sort of like demons that he took with him wherever he went. That's why they were in the black cells together originally.
He was lonely.
I think they were. Yeah. It's indicative of the times that Hot Pie and Gendry are actually pretty much content in their new roles. I mean, both of them are doing the jobs that they enjoy doing and they're good at.
Right, yeah.
And for them, the context doesn't matter so very much.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter who's in charge of the castle.
I think Gendry summed it up really well. His thoughts are really summed up the thoughts of small folk about the doings of lords and ladies. He said, why should I wager my feet for a chance to sweat in Winterfell instead of here in Harrenhal? And then he mentions that another blacksmith, much older blacksmith here, said, he's been a smith for many a different lord here at Harrenhal, and he's come to realize that a sword's a sword and a helmet's a helmet, and if you put your hand in the fire, you'll get burned. Doesn't matter who the lord of the castle is. So, but I think they might be selling him a little bit short here, because I would have to think that if he did manage to successfully get Arya back to her kingly brother and mother, that there might be a knighthood or something more than just, here, you can sweat in our armory now.
I'm forgetting, didn't Arya actually offer him something? I thought Arya had a specific offer.
I think she said he could come work for them in Winterfell.
Right, so exactly. So you're right. He could have extrapolated to say, well, actually, I probably would get more than that. But at the same time, he was literally offered the ability, if you risk your life for me and walk 1,000 miles, you could do the same job at the other end.
Yes. You could have the same job you have right now. How's that sound?
But it will be colder.
Although if you're a smith and you're in that,
true,
you might enjoy going out and dipping in diving into the snow a little bit. But this conversation made me wonder, if they did make it to Cat, would she be able to piece together who or what Gendry is? Especially if Arya mentions that the Queen was after him.
Right. And it's not like Arya's forgotten that. She brought that up this chapter.
Right.
So eventually she would spill that to her mother.
Yes.
And then her mother would be like, oh, I know why she's after him.
Yes.
He looks just like his father.
Exactly. Yes, that's... So I was wondering. It'll be interesting to see whether, if they do, if she can convince him to help her get to her mother, if she can piece that together.
Yeah. As Arya wanders the castle, we begin to realise how vast and empty it is. The garrison is only 100 fighting men, but there are 1,000 doors.
Right.
So it's difficult for 100 men to guard 1,000 doors. She can go wherever she likes. It does make you wonder if it was even worth leaving a garrison.
Yes.
It makes a certain amount of sense. You want a castle to which you could retreat if everything went badly, but the force you leave behind simply can't be enough to hold it. So what's the point?
Right. Yeah. Ultimately, it made me think that maybe I should have cut Sir Roderick a little more slack, because I was criticizing him for not leaving Winterfell properly garrisoned, and Tywin's left Harrenhal with 100 guards, which just seems to be a lot more than what Roderick left Winterfell, but it's also a significantly larger castle. So
yes, exactly, yeah.
And it's also closer to the action. Roderick might have figured, well, Winterfell is fairly secure just due to the geographical situation alone, whereas Harrenhal is here in the Riverlands where most of the fighting is happening. So,
yeah, I suppose. It becomes if Bolton were able to just walk in and take it, it would become a formidable obstacle if Tywin wanted to come back in this direction. But if Tywin's got another plan, it feels like you're just wasting men. You might as well bring them with you and just abandon it.
Right.
What's the point?
Right. Yeah.
So Arya works on her water dancing skills, which I think is a good thing for Arya to do. I mean, she really enjoyed her dancing lessons, and was one of the things she actually, Sansa loved going to King's Landing, and Arya kind of went begrudgingly, but the dancing lessons changed her attitude to King's Landing. So
yeah, and it's probably good for her mental health as well, to be working on developing a skill that she enjoys. True. And it probably is giving her some self-confidence that she can take care of herself as she's starting to see her improvement, her abilities come back. So and
our newly named Nymeria does a better job in the trees than her erstwhile brother Summer.
Good point. Yes. he didn't have so much luck in the Sentinel tree as she has here.
Yes,
but she's up in the tree, so she climbs up into the branches of the trees, and she's basically just walking around on the branches, fighting other branches and leaves and stuff. And she fights. She envisions herself fighting Joffrey and Cersei and the Hound. And it reminded me of that, how much Arya hates the Hound because he killed Micah, which makes perfect sense. But we've, for the past, at least this past book, have, when we've been in King's Landing, we've been thinking of Sandor, of the Hound, as kind of like the closest thing Sansa has to a protector. And we've almost wondered at times how she would survive without him. So it's just interesting that we see him in two different ways here, two different POVs.
Yeah, it's one of the things about the book as just as a piece of work. It's so vast that people's characters change over the time. And I don't think that that's sloppiness by George Martin. I think it's intentional. People have character arcs. We all do. We're not the same people that we were 10 years ago.
Right.
But it is, one aspect of it is we do tend to forget the heinous crimes that some people have committed because we've grown fond of them.
Right. Very much. Yes, we have this
in reality,
discussion.
We would never forgive the Hound for what
Absolutely, you're right. Yeah,
and we had this discussion on Discord just recently about the fact that Tyrion actually raped his first wife, Tysha.
Right.
Under duress, against his will, but he did do it. And it's easy to forget these things when he's your hero and you're rooting for him and you want the best for him.
Yeah.
He's one of the people who's got a clouded character and a clouded past.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I do think it's definitely intentional by Martin to paint a lot of gray characters. They do some good, they do some bad. It's all about, just like most of life, it's about perspective, depending on...
But I mean, it's more than just a grey character, because it's like a character that is both black and white. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I think most of us are fairly grey, but these characters have moments of like real selfless nobility and moments of like rotten evil.
Yes, you're right. It is more of black and white versus, I guess black and white together makes gray. But no,
right.
I get what you're saying though. That it's not just like, yeah, they do some kind of bad things and some kind of good things. Like these are moments of like pure evil, like rape and murder. As well as some very redeeming things, and it makes for a very deep character. But so then Arya prays to the she sees the heart tree, the werewood, and she prays to it, and she does so silently. But then as she's praying, she starts to think about how praying to the old gods didn't help her father at all, and so she changed her tact and starts kind of berating the old gods, saying, "I don't think you could have helped my father if you wanted to," and that catches the ear of Jaqen, and he says, the gods will not be mocked," and we've discussed before whether we've seen the Seven do anything, show any signs of involvement. And I guess maybe the same is true with the old gods. I don't know that we've seen much in the way of evidence from the old gods either.
Certainly not recently. I think perhaps sort of Bran the Builder's era, it was felt that the old gods were actually doing something. But
sure, yeah.
Yes, I mean, I think Westeros is basically a land of religion without much evidence.
Yes, except for R'hllor.
R'hllor
seems to be very active.
Yes. He may not be a nice god, but my god, he's got some power.
Yeah, and we've seen him step in, obviously. Melisandre's showed it multiple times here. And we also know that Jaqen told Arya that the Red God is due 3 lives when he brought this whole thing, like, name 3 people and I'll kill them for you. That was, I think, Arya 7 that was originally brought up. And she starts thinking when she's got the heart tree here and she's got Jaqen, and she starts thinking maybe he was sent by the gods, and maybe, but I don't think it'll be the 7 that sent him.
Right. It would be funny if the 7 or the old gods sent a prophet of R'hllor. Right. They'd be like, this guy's going to do our work for us, but he's probably going to give the wrong message.
Yeah.
But actually, there you go. I mean, you could argue that she's getting protected by Jaqen, but Jaqen is obviously an advocate of the same religion that Melisandre is.
Seems to be. He's not as vocal about his praise of R'hllor as Melisandre is, but he has multiple times mentioned he mentions the Red God in this chapter here. So he certainly seems to have some association with the Red God. R'hllor.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghosts Harrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes.
So Arya wants Jaqen to rescue the Northmen, like she rescued him. He's saying, "No, you're owed 1 death. I can't rescue the Northmen with just 1 killing here. So you've got to give me a name."
Yeah, she's
near tears about this, and I understand. She wants to do something useful with her 3rd wish.
And he makes it very clear that he's all about business here. he's not swayed in the least by her pleas for help. And he says 3 lives were snatched from a god, 3 lives will be repaid. And then he explains that it can be anyone, anywhere. That it might take a day, a week, a month, a year, but that person will die. I think he says a man is not a bird. A man can't fly. He puts one foot in front of the other. So, he's saying, well, we've wondered about this. I think it might have been the last Arya chapter. We wondered if vicinity played a factor, or if she could name Joff, which he thinks that's what she's gonna do.
Which Jaqen actually positively promotes. Right. He's like, you don't want to say Joffrey? Joffrey, maybe?
Yeah, he says, one day a man's there and a king. He says a man doesn't fly like a bird. One foot moves, then the other. And one day a man's there and a king dies. And it reminded me of that movie. Did you ever see the movie It Follows? It's a horror movie.
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
It kind of reminds me of that, because that's kind of the premise, is this thing is constantly pursuing you, but it just walks after you. So you can drive away, but eventually it's going to catch up to you by taking one step after another. Anyway.
So Joff, obviously, she hates his guts. She would like to see him dead. The death of the king of the Lannisters would be advantageous to Robb and to Stannis, let's be honest.
You're right. Yeah, but the question is Joff the most advantageous pick for her, for the Stark cause? I'm not sure necessarily that he's the main threat to the Stark cause.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I think you've got in the notes here Tywin, right? And Tywin seems like a good bet. He's obviously leading the West troops.
Right.
He's a strategic thinker. He's rotten to the core. So he's kind of like, he's kind of got the things that Joffrey has, the rotten to the core, but he's also a strategic thinker, which Joffrey clearly isn't.
And he's got a lot of experience and a lot of power.
I wonder if the biggest breach in the Western sort of team Lannister might be Cersei.
Yeah, I thought about her too. I was trying to think about life without Cersei. Joff would be possibly more unhinged and less reined in.
Exactly. He is slightly reined in by his mother, but his uncle is already talking about regicide.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Less reined in, Tyrion might take care of Joffrey for Arya.
Yeah. That's true.
And then at what point does Tywin just give up? Because it's like, who am I fighting for here?
Right. Yeah, you're right. I was figuring if Tywin, if she picks Tywin and Jaqen follows through and Tywin's dead, it's possible that his brother Kevin Lannister would probably try to pick up the mantle. But none of the Lannisters, maybe not even Jaime, but maybe Jaime is the closest, have the same kind of cachet that Tywin does.
Tywin has.
So with Jaime captive, Tywin dead, the Lannister military threat it takes a major step back.
Yeah, that's very true.
And especially with Robb in the Westerlands, I'm wondering if maybe the Bannermen themselves just sue for peace if granted pardons for their participation.
Yeah, and actually you can imagine Kevin maybe doing that. Kevin might come over and say, look, your beef was with Tywin and Joffrey, right?
Right.
Here's the deal. You get out of the Westerlands, you leave me to take over Casterly Rock. Joffrey and Cersei come home from King's Landing to Casterly Rock, and you decide who the next king is.
Possibly.
It's a big concession, but Kevin's not Tywin,
And him not being Tywin, the Bannermen might not have the same loyalty to Kevin as they do to Tywin. He might not have a choice if they were like, hey, we're done.
We don't want any more of this.
They're raining havoc in our homeland right now. Tywin's dead. We've got a lunatic on the throne. Right. We're out of here. We're suing for peace. Yep. And he might have no choice but to make serious concessions just to save his own neck.
Yeah. So Arya, as you said, Jaqen is all business, but Arya pulls a very kind of obvious trick on him, she names him himself.
Right.
The third name is Jaqen H'ghar. It seems like a pretty big flaw in his offer, and it's obviously a point of coercion. She basically, it's like if the genie says you've got 3 wishes and doesn't say you can't ask for any more wishes.
Right.
If I get 3 wishes from a genie, I'm asking for 1,000 wishes straight off the bat.
Wish 1. I want 1,000 more.
Exactly.
You get to wish 999. I want 1,000 more.
Right. She should have said. She should have said with name 1, Jaqen H'ghar, and he'd have said, wait, I'll do something else instead. All right, then, I'll have 100 deaths.
Right. Yeah, it was kind of ingenious, especially for a 10-year-old in the spur of the moment here. So,
yeah. But then Jaqen pulls a knife, and she's not sure where that knife is headed.
Right.
But he is planning to kill. He's threatening to kill himself, not her. So it's kind of nice of him.
Yeah. He says to her that a man hears whispers of sand through glass, and I wondered if there is a whole time frame thing at play here. That the time frame for Joffrey is all about access and opportunity. So, but that's not an issue when it's yourself.
True. But I actually thought. So is it at this moment that he says that? I thought that
no.
when
She
says,
says,
when he was...
yeah. She says, "Will you help me?" He says, "Fine," and he says, "Let's do it right now." Basically, and she's like, "Oh, right this second." And he said, "A man hears whispers of sand through glass."
Yeah, I think because he was already pressing her for the third name. I think Jaqen H'ghar's got something he wants to do, and he wants to be rid of Arya.
Yeah. He mentions that toward the end of the chapter. He says, "I have other promises."
Right, and that's why he was pressing her on the name. I think he's hearing time slip by because of whatever it is that's on his plate.
Which is interesting that he would have kind of tried to lead her toward Joffrey, because that would be a bit of a
maybe
time
that was
suck.
maybe his next rendezvous is in King's Landing.
Oh yeah,
it was like,
maybe that's why he was in King's Landing.
If I'm heading that way, yes, that's right. If I'm heading that way, I could do Joffrey or Cersei. Just a couple of names I'm mentioning. Please don't send me north.
Speaking of him being in King's Landing, Jaqen, that is, he drops a "just so" to Arya, just like Syrio used to say all the time to her. And
interesting.
There's a whole theory thing that they're one and the same, because at the end of this chapter we see him change appearances, and so there's a whole internet theory that Jaqen and Syrio are the same person, and I feel like there's some pseudo valid reasons for and some pseudo valid reasons against that theory. So first of all, saying "just so," they're both from Essos. One's from Lorath, one's from Bravos, which are almost neighboring cities. And also the Captain Moreo of the Wind Dancer, or whatever the ship that Cat and Sir Roderick took to King's Landing, he said "just so," and he's Tyrashi. So,
but was he Syrio?
He could have been also. Maybe that's how he was getting across to King's Landing. So here's some of the reasons for the two being the same. One, we never saw Syrio die.
Right.
We're just assuming he died. They were both in King's Landing at the same time. They both have taken Arya under their wing in different ways, but both are kind of looking after her a bit. We never got an explanation as to why the first sword of Bravos was in King's Landing in the first place. We wondered that at the time. Like, what happened? Why is he here in King's Landing?
Right.
And finally, Jaqen does seem to know a lot about Arya. He mentions in this conversation that he knows she's Arya Stark. So, those are valid, all pretty valid reasons why.
Well, I wouldn't say they were valid reasons why. I would say they were things that don't contradict.
Yes, you're right. Yes, that's a better way of putting it. Yes, but then there are some reasons against this theory. One being that just because we didn't see Syrio die, it was because Arya's POV ran away from the fight. He still had a wood sword against Meryn Trant's longsword. So
Right?
Oh.
Yeah. Like, for instance, we're pretty sure that Hot Pie finished making those tarts, even though we didn't see
Yes.
him. He was there.
Good example. Plus, we also know that Trant survived. So it's possible that Syrio could have just run away when Arya disappeared, which is what we were suggesting he do. But
maybe Trant arrested him, took him to the cells where he changed to Jaqen H'ghar.
Oh, see, put that in the other category. That could put that in the possible reasons why category. Yes, that could be it. Yes, because Jaqen was found in the black cells. So I had that listed as a reason why not. But it's
right. But there's a time lapse between Arya seeing Syrio and Jaqen being taken from the cells.
And we don't
so
know.
He's got time to get himself arrested.
Yes, we don't know what that gap is. I don't think it's too long because it's while she's living in Flea Bottom, so I don't think it spanned.
Right, but she lived in Flea Bottom long enough to get hungry, so it was multiple days.
Yes, you're right. Yes, absolutely. But yeah, going back to the Just So thing, like I said, they're both from the same region of Essos. So just because he said Just So and Syrio said Just So and Captain Moreo said Just So, it could just be a Western Essosi saying. So
yes, or an Essos attempt at speaking the common tongue. I mean, they perhaps have their own idioms when they try to speak the common tongue, which they don't speak. Right, that's not their first language.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Right.
So yeah, that's interesting. I'd not heard or thought of that, but yeah, we never see them together. They're like Clark Kent and Superman.
They are. I like the idea that.
I do too.
He is. It's just, some people are convinced that they are one and the same. I think there's enough ambiguity to not be sure that they are.
Do you know what? I'm going to keep an eye out for anybody else that helps Arya in the future and listen for them saying Just So.
Right. So Arya asks him straight up, "Who are you? And how did you get the dog to kill Weese?" And she asks a whole bunch of other questions, which he doesn't answer all of them. We don't know who or what he is. Like he said, could be Syrio, could not be Syrio, but we do know that he told her that the Red God owed her 3 deaths, and he's mentioned the Red God several other times. We've already mentioned all this, but he does seem to possess some R'hllor-like magic. He is from Essos, so possibly he could be a blood mage. He could be a faceless man. He says to her, "Come with me across the narrow sea to learn how to do what he does," and that would kind of fit both of those things. Blood mage uses blood magic, and a faceless man changes his appearance and things. So
right,
that. But Jaqen, oddly, near the end of the chapter, after they kill the guards, he wipes his bloody blade on Arya's shift. And we've seen blood be used to pay for magic previously. I don't know why he did it. He just says, "You should be bloody too. This is your fight." He could just be doing it because he's irked. I don't know, but
yeah, I wondered if it was to mark her as being part of it, so that when Bolton arrived, she showed signs of having been involved. She's covered in blood because she was part of it.
Sure, that could very much.
That was one thing. But your thinking is solid though. That this could be a paying a price in blood for the magic that was. Although there wasn't really that much magic, they threw a pot of soup.
Right, that part wasn't magic. I guess it's just the face changing. We don't know how he managed to get the dog to kill Weese. He might not have at all, as you pointed out. There might be no magic at all to that, or there might be something going on. But clearly, he shows he has the ability to do things like change his appearance. So, but then he offers her to come with him and learn how to change his face and possibly kill people. He says, "If you want to learn what I can do, you got to come with me across the narrow sea." And she said, "I can't. I got to go home to Winterfell." But he never indicated that he is her friend in any way. It was much more like a paying back a debt, a business transaction. So I found it interesting that he's inviting her to join him or to find him again. And I wondered if maybe he's part of a group and thinks that she has potential to do what he does.
Yeah, I could see that. I also think that there's sort of two levels to the debt. There's the Red God debt, which was 3 people should have died that night and they didn't because of her. So 3 deaths were owed.
Right.
But then there's I am Jaqen H'ghar and I would be dead were it not for you.
Solid point.
You saved my life.
Right.
So I personally owe you as well. So maybe some of it is that.
Yeah, the only thing about that is that he didn't help her when she said, "Help me free the Northerners." Now maybe he thought that was gonna get him into a situation he didn't want to find himself in, and that's why maybe it was too big of an ask. But yeah.
But he rubs his hands across his face and he becomes a completely different guy, right? His hair changes color, his face changes entirely.
Yeah, he's got a gold tooth.
He's got some skills here.
And not only does he physically change, he drops the Lorathi accent. He stops speaking in a man, a girl, and all that. He says to her, "If you would learn, you must come with me. And then we must part, for I have duties too. I have promises to keep. Valar Morghulis, Arya Stark." So he totally picks up on the...
Which then goes to the whole just so thing.
Right.
He didn't need to say that. He knows how to not say that.
Yes.
He chose to.
Yeah. I found it interesting that this new character doesn't speak with the Lorathi accent. So...
Yeah. So the fighting with the hot pots of soup is surprisingly effective. When you're basically 3.5 against 8, it is a leveler. I do wonder how easy it would have been to burn all 8 of them with one pot of soup, though. You ever thrown a huge cauldron of soup at 8 people? I'm guessing you wouldn't hit all 8 of them. No, I'm not recommending that you do. It just feels like it's a heck of a throw to catch them all.
Yes.
I just imagine one guy on the end going, "Ah! Ow!"
Simon was flicking his arm.
Onion!
that was a hot onion.
I hate... That's my best doublet.
Yeah. What's his name? Jaqen does have to kill a guy with his blade.
Yeah, so. I mean, yeah, you're not going to kill them all, but I mean, hurt them all enough that only one of them got their sword drawn before they were dispatched, I think.
Yeah, right.
So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. They had 4 large cauldrons, so I guess if you throw them and they hit a couple people. I think
it was just one, right? I thought just one caught all 8 of them.
I think they threw all 4. I think that was
did
part
they?
of the...
Okay, well, good. As long as all 4 got thrown, I'm feeling a lot better about this. It felt like Rorge was the greatest cauldron thrower of all time.
Olympic caliber cauldron thrower. But it works. They're successful, and they kill all 8 guards, and they release the northern prisoners. And Lord Robert Glover, comes out and says his thanks. And so Robert Glover, his seat is Deepwood Motte, which is the same castle that Asha Greyjoy is tasked with taking, and also. His wife, Sebel, and the steward at Deepwood Motte are the ones that weren't storing enough grain that Roderick and Lewin got on them about. So all kinds of chaos going back at home. So last thing he needed to be was stuck in this dungeon here. But he's actually not the head of the house, though. It's his brother Galbart that is the head of the house. But he is unmarried.
The true failure to collect enough grain is Galbart.
Right. Yeah. He's somewhere around here. I'm not sure exactly where he is off the top of my head, but he is here in the south. So anyway, just wanted to remind people who the Glovers were.
So borderline pedantry, but here's the danger of hiring sellswords for me. Right? They can always be turned, right? Everybody knows this. Everybody says this. You know, the sellswords are no good because they can always be turned. I would say if they did this as often as they seem to in this book, it would be very hard for them to gain a positive reputation.
Their Yelp reviews would be terrible.
Exactly. So I'm imagining a conversation where you go something like, "I was thinking of hiring the bloody mummers. Oh, That's a great idea. Fearsome, vicious. Strike terror into the hearts of your enemies. Always follow your directions to the letter. They sound great, just what I need. Until they betray you and stab you in the back, of course. Wait, what?
What's this?
Why would I hire these people?
Why did you lead with that?
Yeah, exactly. They're great for a while.
Right. If you only need them for a really short stint.
I will say that it does allow them to build an impressive resume because they fight for both sides of every battle. So, doubling up the length of their resume.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. Double up for every battle. Yeah. Kevin admonished Jaime for using cell-swords at the Battle of the Camps. And we saw Bronn turn on Cat and back Tyrion. So, they sell their sword. They're called cell-swords for a reason. You have to wonder. We've heard. This is the first we've ever actually heard Roose speak and met him in person. But we've heard he's a rather calculating man, and it begs the question: would he trust these cell swords?
Yeah, but maybe he met them and they parlayed. They said they waved the white banner and they spoke, and Vargo Hoat said, "Well, I'm working with these guys now. They're paying me well." And he's like, "Look, I'll pay you the same, but here's the thing. I'm coming to Harrenhal with my 5,000 men, and we're going to take it, and we're going to kill everyone inside." You wouldn't actually have to increase your offer, really. You just say, "Well, I'll switch sides for the current pay,
right? If
you'll just not kill me, please."
Yes, that very well could have been how it goes. Yeah,
but I will say, in retrospect, Arya wasted her third wish too. She wasted her first two wishes, and now she wasted her third wish too.
Yeah.
These Northmen were always going to get sprung.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of tragic to think of.
Yeah, she did waste it as well. Yeah. Although it seemed to work out well for Jaqen because it would have taken a while to fulfill that Joff
True.
Name. And instead,
again, I'm convinced he was doubling up.
Yeah. He was heading there anyway. Although he says he's heading across the narrow sea, so.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
But maybe he was going to stop in King's Landing and then head across the narrow sea.
So, yeah, just a point here. One thing that's interesting at the end of this chapter is Arya does not let on to Roose Bolton who she is.
Right.
But when earlier in her time in Harrenhal, she desperately tried to get her name into the ear of the minor Northern Lord Medgar Serwyn,
right,
who came to Harrenhal as a prisoner and later succumbed to his wounds before she got a chance to tell him. So she was, at one point, trying to tell Northern Lords who she was, but now a Northern Lord comes in and rules the roost, and she's not telling him. I wonder why this is.
I got it at first, especially when Jaqen went to tell Robert Glover, and she jumped in and said, Weasel, because she didn't want Rorg or Biter to hear her true identity. And right. I got it when she originally met Roose, because it was in front of everybody. It might be something you want to divulge in private. But then at the very last paragraph of the chapter, or last couple paragraphs, it jumps ahead to her pouring Roose's wine, and there seems like there's been time for them to be alone for her to say,
right,
by the way, do you know who I am? And it seems odd that she didn't divulge her identity to him. I mean, he's literally flying the Stark banner, and he's here doing Rob's bidding. So,
Yes, yes to all of the above. He is a bit terrifying, Roose.
Sure.
I mean, he only ever gets mentioned in like individual sentences here and there, and yet somehow he strikes fear into my heart. Just the very thought of the man.
It's that flayed man sigil, possibly.
It's the flayed man sigil. That's off-putting.
Yeah. You just gotta wonder if it's just general distrust now due to her being on the run for so long.
Right, but think of it this way: she's by not reaching out to him and saying, "Hey, send me to Riverrun, send me to Winterfell. I'm Arya Stark." She's delaying being reunited with her family.
But he's
to act as cupbearer.
Now I agree with you. There is something terrifying about Roose Bolton, but he's not the only Northern Lord there. Robert Glover is there. Helman Tallheart should be there because he was sent by Edmure from the twins to join up with Roose, we didn't hear his name here, but he should be with him. So there's other northern lords around that she could divulge her name to. But then I wondered if any of them, especially Roose, because he's the one who's paid her the most attention, might notice her House Stark like features, because it's been said multiple times that she's the most Stark like in looks of Cat's kids, along with Jon. So coupled with, we don't hear much about accents in Westeros.
Right,
Only
but
saucy.
she would sound northern.
I can spot a Western Pennsylvania accent within 2 minutes of hearing someone talk. So you'd have to think, with how isolated the North is from the other kingdoms, that there is a rather distinct northern accent that he might pick up on. So,
yeah. Unless in her time she's learned to hide it. Unless in her time in the South she's learned some of the southern accent and is adopting it to hide herself.
Possibly.
But yeah, I agree on that one. I think that would stand out even more than her features.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll find out. I mean, maybe she's just waiting to be sure of it before she lets on. But I'm puzzled by that. Yeah. Do you have some background for us, sir?
I have a little bit of background. So Gendry mentions, and I mentioned it earlier, that a fellow smith named Ben Blackthumb, his time at Harrenhal dates back through the generations of Went lordships at the castle, all the way back to Lord Lothston. So let's find out who the Lostons were. House Loston, as befits their seat, was once a powerful house in the realm. House Loston came by its seat of Harrenhal in a rather unusual manner. The first Loston to be Lord of Harrenhal was Sir Lucas Loston. I can't say that fast. Lothston. He was born the grandson of a hedge knight, and Sir Lucas rose to Master-at-Arms of the Red Keep during the reign of King Aegon III. Now, meanwhile, the king's nephew, Prince Aegon, future Aegon IV, was found in bed with the Felaena Stokeworth. The prince's father, Prince Viserys, arranged for Felaena to marry our Sir Lucas. He then had his kingly brother set Lucas up as Lord Lucas of Harrenhal, removing him and his wife from court, and his wife from Prince Aegon's bed. Now, fast forward 20 years, and Prince Aegon is now officially King Aegon IV. He calls the Lostons back to King's Landing. He makes Lucas his hand of the king, and takes Jane Loston, the 14-year-old daughter of Lucas and Felaena, as one of his many mistresses. However, the arrangement didn't last very long, because within a year the king gave young Jane a pox, and he then banished the family from King's Landing. Now, this house's sigil was a black bat on a split silver and gold field, the split being kind of diagonal from top left to bottom right. So there you go. That's the Lostons, if I can ever get that name right.
Comparison with the television show, we're all over the place.
I bet.
I've mentioned this before, in the show, Arya served as Lord Tywin's cupbearer for several weeks, and I've mentioned that they kept adding more scenes because they were excellent television.
Right.
Arya and Tywin were great together. Yes. And he was always sniffing around her accent and sniffing around who she was. He was like, whenever he caught her reading something, he was like, strange that you can read. Things like
Being
that.
a pot girl and all.
Yes. She uses up her third wish in a slightly different way, which might be a spoiler, so I'm going to keep quiet on exactly what she did there. Okay. But it does include the naming of Jaqen to himself, and then the coercing him to giving her more than one remaining death that she was owed.
All right.
She had tried to name Tywin before he rode out to fight Robb, but Jaqen was out on patrol duty at the time. She couldn't find him. Jaqen does do the face change trick and provides her with the coin and the Vala Morghulis password.
Okay.
So all of that happened. Yeah. Just as an aside, I've been watching a show on Hulu called Das Boot, which is based on a book, which is based on I think the book preceded the movie, but there was a movie of it as well. But the actor who played Jaqen H'ghar pre-face change is in that, and now the two are really merged in my mind. Now I see Jaqen H'ghar as a Gestapo
Right.
officer now.
You keep expecting him, instead of a Lorathi accent, to have a German accent.
Pedantry. Since this was all clearly a plan by Vargo Hoat, Robert Glover and Roose Bolton, why would you bother to disarm the Northerners? Every one of them should have had a sword or at least a knife strapped to them somewhere so that they were armed, because when you freed them from the prison, presumably you don't put the jail cell right next to the armory, because that would make prison breaks all the more dangerous.
Right at the top of the stairs.
So some poor sap is carrying 100 swords down the stairs, trying not to wake the 8 guards.
Yeah.
And let me just mention how difficult that is. I occasionally empty the dishwasher in the morning before the rest of the family wakes up. That never goes well.
You have 100
I wake
spoons
them
and
up
you can't
every
do
time.
it.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I think they should have been better armed than they were. I do think that the plan was for them to not be incarcerated, but for them to be given the sort of to roam the castle.
Right.
But they must have foreseen what Amory Lorch's reaction would be. He's like, I don't want a force equal to my own wandering.
Yes, that's a very solid point. Maybe 5 of you at a time can come out.
Yeah, yes. As a mark of respect, you can have groups of 5 can have a walk in the sunshine.
Right. Yes, you're right. She mentions that it's more than 100 men, and she also mentions that their garrison is about 100 men. So,
right. News and notes. What have you got for us?
well, we actually have a good deal of news and notes here. So, the first thing is that
God, we do.
there's a new Ghosts of Harrenhal phone case out on our Threadless merchandise store. So, go check that out if you have any interest. It's primarily for iPhone. I had no control. It was a Threadless offering. Threadless has the cases that they have to sell. And it's primarily, there are a few older Samsung options, I believe, but they have just about every iPhone you can imagine. So if you got an iPhone and you're interested, go check it out.
George Martin announced on Twitter that he's restarting Targaryen Thursdays, where he'll provide some fun facts about the Targaryen family. You will retweet everything he posts, so be sure to follow us on Twitter. Hopefully, actually, I've read the next chapter, so I know what's coming. There's a very interesting Targaryen question in that chapter, and maybe he'll answer that for us before we record.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
You know what I'm talking about. It's who's that Targaryen?
Oh, yes, I do know what you're talking about. Yes. I forgot what chapter was next. Yes, I do know what you're talking about. In other news, the Game of Thrones prequel series, The Tales of Dunk and Egg, has a writer. His name is Steve Conrad, and he has joined the HBO series currently in development as both writer and executive producer. Now, some of Conrad's other writing work include the movies The Pursuit of Happiness and the movie Wonder, and shows like Amazon Prime's Patriot and AMC Plus's animated show Ultra City Smiths. So, I've heard of. I think I've heard of all but that Ultra City Smiths. I have no clue what that one is.
You're ahead of me.
That doesn't mean that the show is completely greenlit. It just means it's taking another step in the right direction. So
A step in the right direction. Yeah, okay.
why don't you tell our listeners about our Buy Me a Coffee development?
Our Buy Me a Coffee site has monthly sustainers now.
Right.
Our good friends Jenny of Allstones and Ryan Carver are monthly sustainers.
Yes. Thank you so much.
That is really awesome. You guys are the best.
That is
Thank
wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
When I
We appreciate
I checked the page and I saw that and I was touched. Everyone that contributes, we appreciate so much. So
yeah, thank you guys.
So it's the end of year Spotify. Spotify does this end of year wrap up where they give you all these stats. Now, for most people, they give you stats about the stuff you've been listening to. And we've been getting a lot of people sending us screen caps of their their lists when we're on there. Sometimes we're first, sometimes we're second, third, fourth, whatever, and it's very cool. So if you get one of those, feel free to send them on or put them on your Instagram story, and I'll resend that out on ours. But some of the cooler stats, because we're a podcast, we got podcast stats, and some of the cooler stats that I appreciated were, I actually didn't put this in the notes because I just wanted to tell Simon instead of him knowing ahead of time.
Oh, I'm excited now, yeah. I was like, you should know, people, how much he's making this up, because it's not in the notes. I didn't realize you were going off book.
I wanted to inform you while I was informing our other listeners. I thought you could just sit back and be a listener for a minute.
I was busily checking my Gmail to see if I'd got my Spotify stats for the year, but I don't appear to have. So
yeah, I think you you should get an email about. I think that's how I originally got this. Anyway. So, two cool stats is, one is that 149 of our listeners listen to us more than any other podcast.
Get in.
That's right.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
That is awesome.
I thought that was so cool. And then this next stat, 21 of our listeners, you know what they did? They listened to us on their birthday. 21 listeners thought so much of us to spend their birthday with us. That is great as well. So I thought that was really cool.
That is cool. Okay, so one quick review. Aesthete Manju on YouTube said, "Hey, hi! I've been listening to your podcast while drawing, and they're so much fun." That's nice. Yeah. Actually, we don't get many draws. We get people blowing out their birthday candles. We get people vacuuming.
Right, of course.
People walking. These are the things.
Doing yard work, doing chores around the house.
Yes.
I like this. Drawing. Yes.
Drawing is nice, yeah. And they're so much fun. You always mention that you're on YouTube, so I thought I'll check it out. Thank you for the podcast. I stumbled upon it by accident one day, and I've been listening to it every day since then. Heart emoji. And as all your listeners say, your chemistry. Flame and tears.
Laughing tears.
I don't understand it. Oh,
thankfully laughing tears, not crying tears.
I thought it was like a Bunsen burner and then sort of... Love to you and your family's heart. Thank you very much, Manju. That's very kind.
Thank you.
And actually, I added one. Did you see?
I did see. Yes.
A review. Carol slipped into my DMs. I think that's what the Utes are saying. I think you might be right.
If you're not,
okay, good.
It works for me, so we'll go with it.
Okay, fine. And she said some nice things. It was kind of disjointed. So, but the one quote I got, which was a quintessentially Southern United States things to say, she said, "Y'all are amusing." So, thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol. Yes, thank you very much to both of you.
Yes. Conclude this one. So, what next for Arya? She's used up her genie wishes. Not really killed anyone useful, even with the last wish.
Yep.
So what next? Amory Lorch is gone. Good news for everybody on the side of good and decency. The Martells will be happy.
Right. Yes.
Remember that? That he was one of the murderers of the children.
And Elia.
And Elia.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm sure they will be glad to hear that. They seem to be singularly focused on Sir Gregor, but you're right. The armory was supposed to have been involved as well. And, we finally got some retribution for what he did to Yorn. And, like, the very last, maybe it's in the last sentence or in the last paragraph, Arya thinks the bear is in all black, just like Yorn, because they throw Armory into the bear pit, and you have to assume things did not go well for him down there.
Presumably not.
But, you know what? Edmure's decisions have been working out as he hoped so far.
I've been Team Edmure for a while now. He's done very little wrong.
I know.
He made some strategic errors early on when he was first thrust into power because his father was ill. But now he's grown into the role and he's making the right decisions all over the place.
Yeah. Roose took Harrenhal without killing all inside, thankfully, and it's one less option for Tywin to retreat to.
Right, and Tywin was constantly barraged when he tried to cross the Red Fork.
Yeah, right. Yeah, prevented him from crossing the Red Fork.
And ended up giving up on his plan to cross the Red Fork. So, I mean, Edmure is just winning. Edmure is just winning. You know why you think Edmure isn't winning? It's because his big sister is a Debbie Downer on him. That's what it is. You should never trust a big sister's view of someone.
Like I said earlier, it's all about perspective.
Right, exactly. So Arya is finally out from under the heel of the Lannisters, but is she safe? Can she trust Roose Bolton? Could she reveal to him or to one of the other Northern Lords?
Right.
Should she stay and continue to hide? Should she escape again? But who wants to be on that road, really?
I mean, like we talked about earlier, this is what she was hoping for. She, for all intents and purposes, has been rescued. She's in the arms, in the control of the Northern forces that are bannermen to her older brother. She's been saved for, all intents and purposes.
It feels like if Roose has his 10 closest lieutenants in a room, if she were just to blurt out to all of them, I'm Arya Stark, take me to my mom.
Right.
It would be very difficult to not do
Absolutely. And remember, Roose is still trying to make up for what his son did in the north for the trouble he caused. So how much more favor would he curry with the Starks by returning their lost daughter? I mean, that would be such a huge win for him. But I almost wish that Weese was still alive right now, because I would love to see his face if Arya came forward as Princess Arya Stark of Winterfell. oh, man. I would love to see that.
The Red God may get a fourth death, or a 12th. I've lost count. So do you think she might try to learn Jaqen's skills and his stilted syntax?
Well, she doesn't have to learn the syntax anymore, because he's changed accents now.
Yes, good point.
I think she is singularly focused on getting back home at the moment, but she does have the coin, so she could keep it in her back pocket in case there's ever a time when she might need it. Yep. And maybe, who knows, maybe after the war, she could be like, that was kind of cool what Jaqen did there with the whole, you see people go like, I had a smiley face on it, ran my hand across my face, and turned it into a frowny face. But I think what he did was a little...
Podcast gold.
I think what he did was a little more elaborate.
Yes. All right. As always, you can reach us at ghost.harrenhal@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at @GhostHarrenhal. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Discord.
That's right. And if you wouldn't mind going out and checking out our merchandise on ghostsofharrenhal.threadless.com. And if you're interested in buying us a cup of Arbor Gold, you can do that at buymeacoffee.com/ghostsharrenhal. And if you please go out and leave us a review, we very much would appreciate a 5-star rate and or a glowing review. And if you do so, there's a very high likelihood that we will read it out on the air in a future episode.
Heck yeah. All right, thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Valar Morghulis.